Chapter 2. Descent into the Shadow Self. Stages 4 to 5. Resistance and Ego Death. Before we descend further, let us pause and remember what brought us here. Awakening, as described in the previous chapter, is not a single event. It is not a lightning strike that forever changes you in an instant. It is a process, slow, unpredictable, and deeply personal. The first phase might feel like a cosmic invitation. Colors intensify, silence becomes holy, and the veil seems to thin. But like every true initiation, what follows is not more clarity, but chaos. Not enlightenment, but unraveling. This is where most spiritual seekers falter, not because they are weak, but because they were never warned that the light would eventually lead them into the dark. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist and mystic of the psyche, warned us, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. This episode, The Descent, is not a punishment. It is the natural path of awakening. The more the light reveals, the more shadows it casts, and the deeper we must go. After the initial spark of awakening, after the colors intensify, the silence speaks, and the world feels newly alive, comes a silence of a different kind. A silence that does not comfort, one that unsettles, one that whispers, now you must face yourself. Welcome to the second phase of awakening, the descent. The descent is not a punishment, it is a rite of passage. A sacred dismembering of everything you thought you were. In ancient myth, every hero must descend into the underworld. Jesus, Buddha, Inanna, Persephone, all entered the realm of shadow before rising in truth. And so must we. If episode 1 was a gentle whisper, episode 2 is the storm. It begins with resistance. Not from others, but from within. You've seen the illusion, you've glimpsed the truth, but the old self doesn't surrender easily. The ego, the identity you've worn for so long, fights for its survival. It argues, it rationalizes, it distracts, it floods you with doubt. Who do you think you are? Maybe this is just a phase. You're overthinking. Go back to normal. This inner voice is not your enemy. It is the dying echo of a version of you that was built to survive a world of masks. But now, you're asking for more, and the old structures tremble in shadow work. To walk this path is to become an archaeologist of your own unconscious. You begin to dig, and what you find may not be beautiful. Repressed emotions, childhood wounds, unmet needs, desires you've judged, rage you've buried, guilt you've denied, all rise to the surface now, not to punish you, but to be seen. Because what we do not integrate, we project. And what we project, we are bound by. Jung wrote, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. This is not about blame. It is about responsibility. The sacred kind. The kind that whispers, you can no longer pretend you don't know. And yet, even as the inner storm rages, there is a deeper silence beneath it. A presence, a witness. Something in you remains still. That stillness is your anchor. You begin to observe the old self, trying to survive, panic, clinging, controlling, but it no longer holds the same power. It's like watching an old film. You see the character acting out the script, but now, you know you're not the character. You're the one watching. This is the beginning of disidentification, the slow, painful, holy process of realizing, I am not my trauma. I am not my persona. I am not even the voice in my head. And that realization brings you face to face with stage 5, ego death. Not a literal death, but a symbolic one. The ego's job was to protect, to build safety through control, to make sure you fit in, got approval, survived. It crafted identities, smart one, strong one, spiritual one. But now, the soul is louder than the survival instinct, and the ego cracks. You may feel like you're disappearing, like nothing is real. You might float between numbness and panic, cry for no reason, lose track of time, feel like you're dissolving. That's because you are. The construct of you is dissolving. The roles, labels, masks. What's left is terrifying at first, because it is silent, unknown, formless. But stay in the silence, because underneath it all is presence. Not the you who performs, not the you who pleases, but the you who is. The one who simply watches, feels, breathes. And in that presence, you find something sacred. Freedom. No longer bound by the script. No longer playing a part. You begin to live from the ground of truth, rather than the performance of safety. The ego isn't bad. It's just outdated. It's a beautiful tool, but a terrible master. When it dies, it makes room for the self, capital S, the one that was buried beneath all the noise. And from that stillness, something new begins to rise. Not the rebirth yet. That comes later. But the space for rebirth. A clearing. So if you feel like you're unraveling, trust it. If you feel like you're floating in the unknown, trust it. If you feel like the old life is slipping away, let it. This is not the end. It's the turning point. And in the next episode, we'll step into the sacred void, the space between what has died and what is yet to be born.